I mean,
Oh,
this should be the giveaway.
there we go. Hey, everyone. I'm Todd Bookspan on behalf of Dave Savage and everyone over at Mortgage Coach and Win by Noon. Welcome to another edition of the Friday Mastermind. This one is called All the Juicy Details About the Modern Mortgage Summit with none other than Denise, Donoghue, and Todd Bookspan. I think everyone's always surprised. They don't know who they're going to get, but welcome, Denise. Super excited you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm replacing Deborah Bird today. So if I threw you off with the long hair and the glasses, it's not actually Deborah, but I'm glad to be here. Man, I watched the Modern Mortgage Summit. Can't wait to digest it with you.
It's I think it's really critical for people here. It's funny because I get a lot of follow-up questions, a lot of follow-up comments. Dave and I have our community text club, and through that, now I've got a few hundred people texting me, hey, here's what I thought of this one, here's what I thought of that one, and people are like, oh, I'm just getting the replay now. And I'm like, hey, awesome. Whether you were able to carve out a full day like you did to be able to watch it, or whether you just watched pieces of it, those of you who watched it, right? Kind of a quick housekeeping. I should probably throw this out there. Number one is we should have a video out, or an email out today. It'll have the survey in it. I'll throw the survey link over in Zoom. We'd love everyone who attended to give us your feedback, right? Our goal is to make it better and better every time we do it. So we'd love your survey. It'll also have all of the links to everything else from the show. Everything that we mentioned will be in there. I'm just waiting on the fine folks at LeaderPass to get me a accurate list of everyone who purchased a pass. I should have it shortly. Additionally, the main video has been up since yesterday, and then we've got someone who's cutting it into all the individual micro presentations, and then you'll be able to say, oh gosh, I'd love to watch Denise again. You'll be able to just click on her smiling face and you'll be able to play her presentations again on demand. So that'll be the fun part. And lastly, we've got probably about 90 minutes worth of content that is awesome, just couldn't squeeze it in the show. And we're super fortunate to have some people like, oh, I'm going to do 3 or 4 videos. And we're like, at some point we had to take 1 or 2 of their videos and put it into the after content. And there's just some great gems in there. So you'll want to see that. That'll probably be up sometime middle to end of next week. It really just depends on, again, the folks at LeaderPass and how quick they can get it going. And then probably the last commercial I should give you all before we get started is, you all know we're selling not even a month, 3.5 weeks to the Modern Real Estate Summit. And we know last year, a lot of you, we had 200 plus of you who bought either a 25 pack, a branch pass of passes to use with your real estate agents, or an influencer pack, 100 pack. And we had a few people buy a couple hundred. Now's the time to start on that. So that way you can get your real estate agent conversations in. Don't wait till the last minute. Last time, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I only wish I would have started earlier. So that's why we're really pushing it out, encouraging you guys to jump in now. The event, I've already seen some of the content. It is over the top. Ryan Serhant was our #1 rated speaker last year, and he crushed it again. I've watched his already twice. It's so good, and I can't wait for you guys to all see it. So enough commercials. Denise, like I said, I'm super grateful you're here. We all need to think great thoughts. How's your sister doing?
I would like to say she's doing better, but I've never known much about meningitis or viral meningitis, but if you ever run across a friend or family member that end up telling you they have it, it's a virus, and it's kind of like COVID, where there's nothing you can do to take away the pain or speed up the healing process. But from what I've been described, is it's basically the virus gets all around your membranes and your spinal cord. And so you're basically stiff and in pain, like excruciating pain, to the point where she's complaining about it. And, Deborah doesn't complain about anything. And so she's still actually as bad as she was, I would say, day 1, but she's a week in. And I believe the doctor said that it on average lasts 2 weeks. So I'm just glad she's got a great team, and Sid and Nick and everybody jumping in, helping her, making sure that Plug and Play is taking care of their clients. And we hope that she only has another week, hopefully less, but it's not looking that way. So.
All right, community, let's raise her up in our positive thoughts and prayers, and make sure that we help Deborah heal quickly, because there's no doubt in my mind she's been such a blessing to our community. So let's make sure that we pull her through. And like I said, I'm super grateful you're here. So you watched the summit, and kind of what were your initial thoughts? Like, where would you want to start today?
I thought it was interesting that almost all the speakers had a common theme, which doesn't surprise me if they are true mortgage coach users, is that the financial literacy and Duncan's talk about the high trust but with the wrong tech could misfire, hardcore misfire. But a lot of the presentation spoke a lot about either starting with that trust or having that financial literacy, or what are you doing today to gain that for yourself to be able to teach your clients, because the constant threat that our industries have. I say industries meaning real estate and mortgage, with the iBuyers and these online lenders. If you're not separating yourself from a loan officer to an advisor, you will be a dinosaur and you will become extinct, because it's going to be tough to play in that space. And so I thought Dan Keller, of course, he's the mortgage king. He killed it. I thought his presentation was great, and his use of video was great, but then also how he utilizes like tactical financial budgeting with his clients at various stages was just phenomenal. And I guess Shayla's kind of the queen of the mortgage. If we're doing king and queen, Shayla and Kelly, the queens of the mortgages. I even thoroughly enjoyed Heather Bomar. We haven't seen her in a while. And I actually have a Comma Insurance branch. So I love that she talked about that and how much of a game changer that's been for my own diversifying of business. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. But man, how cool. I mean, I know that a lot of people thank you guys, but what a gift to loan officers around the world that you guys put something like this together. Like, when I got into this in 2012, there really wasn't anything like this. And then you can watch it and rewatch it and take notes, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I had it playing in the background while I was working on Wednesday. And then I've like dog-eared my notes of, okay, I've got to go back to that. And I got to go back to this. And so it's just so cool that you can have it all year long and revisit it at different seasons that you need to.
Yeah, I was laughing with Robert before you got on because, we had people buying it all day yesterday. We already had someone buy an annual pass this morning. I would tell you, if you were one of the people who watched and bought a 1-year pass or a 30-day pass, midnight tonight is when it expires. There's a link when you log back in there where you can upgrade for the $49.99 or whatever it is, $50 to have full access for a year. It's going to go up to $100 for that. And then you can still sneak in and buy it, because the website hasn't changed, but they'll change it next week and make it $200 if you haven't bought to buy in. Because it's always funny to watch how we gain momentum after the event when people keep talking about it, sharing with their friends how much they enjoyed it. And that's been, for us, it's been a fun thing. I mean, when Dave and I talked about it, a little over a year ago, hey, we could do this event. And we put the last one together in, less than 6 weeks. And, the fun part this time is we had more time. And you kind of mentioned it, that there was a theme throughout. It was interesting to me because you talked about, going from, here to the heart, right? To, I guess, here to here, whatever that 18 inches that they have to go over. And then it seemed like that was the whole relationship piece was a big part. And then it seemed like you have to take your heart and have a heart for the financial side of it to help people. And that seemed to be another theme. And the fact that, Dave and I don't ask you guys to come to cover a specific topic and you're all coming at it. And certainly a lot of you tie mortgage coach into it, because obviously that's the common thread of us and why we're all here. But as far as, kind of go back into your, thinking, why did you choose the topic that you chose?
It's something that has just been such a shift. I think after the year of 2020 and COVID, and I think how that really exposed that we are really thirsting for that human trust, that human connection. We don't want to do things as a robot when it's a transaction as important as this one is. And, like Dan and Todd, they talked about specific statistics about how most people's wealth is tied into their real estate, and, X percentage, it was high. It was like high 70s or 80s percentage of people. That's where all their wealth is. And so think about that. Would you want to just like robot chat with somebody when it comes to your mortgage or real estate? Or would you rather have a deep trust and connection? And that's where I focused on, I'm not I always tell people, Deborah's the nice twin. It's not that I'm not nice. I'm just like, I'm super logical and super business. I think when Bill Hart was coaching me, he was like, Denise, like, do you do anything for fun with your real estate agents, or is it like all business? And that is like naturally how I am. I'm not very emotional. I'm pretty wired, like very logical, but what I've learned after attending Renee's events, and that in order to really strengthen a bond and connection with humans or with clients or with real estate agents, you do have to be a little vulnerable, and you do have to have that connection to strengthen the bond. And then you can tie in any kind of logical conversation, whether that's with a TCA or whether you're talking about mortgage bonds or rates, or, if you're a real estate agent and you start talking about CMAs and where to list someone's home. But you can't go there until you have that bond. And I think the thing is that you could, but you won't be memorable, and you won't be building a business that has that annuity based effect to it, because they won't remember you. You didn't touch a emotional chord with them. And what really are we in this for? I mean, do you want to start over every single month? Or do you want majority of your referrals to come from other people because they're such raving fans of yours? And so it is interesting. I didn't even think about it until you said it. And I don't even know if people watching this realize that you guys don't give us any direction on what you want us to speak about. It's just, hey, we want you to be a keynote, or we want you to be a presenter, whatever you want. Like, for those watching you, that's the direction they give us, whatever you want. And so it is pretty cool that that was the running theme in this. It just interesting that that's what all of us are choosing to talk about and implement today in our business, is kind of the same theme.
Yeah, you said so many things I'd love to unpack, and I'll certainly, second. It was great to see Heather Bomar, back in it, and she did 4 different presentations. I can't remember if we squeezed in only 3, or we squeezed in all 4, but they were all really excellent. And so I would definitely encourage you guys to go back and watch her, just because she's the number 1 loan officer in Oklahoma. And the other, well, there's like 100 ways I got to go. I'll pace it out. Slow down, take a deep breath, because I'm so excited about it. So on the heart thing, it seems to me, for the people who struggle with it, the place is just to start asking better questions. Would that be your recommendation? Or is there something different you would add to that?
For sure, because, a lot like what even Duncan was saying, is that when initially the conversation starts out, there's going to be higher tension than there is trust, because you're talking to a mortgage person or you're talking to a salesperson. So from a consumer standpoint, it's like, how was that referral made to you from the loan officer? Was it a warm referral, or was it a lukewarm referral where they're like, yeah, this is the lender I use, you should use them? How strong was that referral? That's another topic of conversation, because you can help coach your real estate agents or your clients how best to refer you. But if it's lukewarm, then that initial conversation is going to be more high tension. And so how do you break those barriers down to get past the person that's like, I am going to use you as a commodity. I want best rate, lowest cost. But it's like, okay, well, what's making you want to move now? That's layer number 1. Oh, we want to be, in this school district. Okay, great. What school district are your kids in now? Okay. What's appealing to you about this school district that's making you want to move? Because let's be real, selling and buying is not the most fun thing to do. So there's something that is making them want to make that move. You have to ask deeper questions. I'm using this one as an example because I learned from a client just yesterday that one of their kids was actually getting bullied, and that is why they wanted to make the move. And so it actually it gives me goosebumps a little bit talking about it, because if I had just stopped at that initial question, oh, we want to be in the school district, that's not deep enough. That's not really telling me anything. You have to probe a little bit to get down to the why. And then, like I mentioned in my presentation, the second thing is to share a story. Part of sharing that story creates the comfort. It creates relatability. And that will also just strengthen that bond where they feel safe, that they know that you're going to help them or guide them, because now you know a little bit more about what they're looking for and the why. Maybe how meaningful this move is. Maybe their person got divorced and this is their first home purchase after the divorce. And there's so many things that we can connect on. But like you mentioned earlier, you have to care more yourself. You have to view it as helping a family and not cashing in a paycheck. And that's really where it starts, right? Like, this isn't about what your next paycheck is going to be. It's going to be, this is your next family. Now, what impact can you make on that family?
Well, I think you nailed it, because if you can make that connection, then that's how you build that future referral business, right? They're going to come back again and again and again. And you really did a great job of pointing out that it's not just the initial question. It's actually more important to ask the questions after the question, right? I know that Dave always talks about when he got a few minutes with Larry King years ago, that, that's kind of what Larry King said. That's not, I don't worry about the questions. It's really the questions I have to ask after the questions that always make the magic happen. Someone's asking, Roberta, who I love, what are some other questions? So I love the whole idea. What's making you move, right now? What else would you maybe ask as an initial question?
Those are usually my go-to, is what's making you want to sell, or why now? If someone's renting and I'm like, what's making you want to buy right now? And I often have loan officers ask me, well, then what? But it's so hard to answer that, because I'm genuinely listening to what their answer is in order to be able to ask that next question. I'm trying to think of we had a guy that was renting, and literally as basic as, I was in COVID. I was tired of looking at these four walls. I'm working from home now, and my dog's driving me crazy, and I have to work at home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of dog do you have? He tells me, I'm not really a dog person, but I'm like, what kind of dog do you have? Clearly, he's a single guy. This dog is his best friend. So I'm going to spend the next 5 to 7 minutes talking about the dog. I want to know what the dog's name is. I want to know if you want a big yard for the dog. I'm going to start probing like what's frustrating about having a dog in an apartment, because sometimes it can be tough to relate to everybody. I don't own a dog. I don't necessarily love dogs. Don't judge me. Like, so many people are getting off
I'm keep
this.
my mouth shut. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just, yeah, I can tell you why, but that's like a deep rooted therapy session that we can go into later. There is a reason. Um, but it's important to him. And so I want to know about that. And I want to probe that. Maybe it's not some like crazy, vulnerable, thoughtful, but it still wasn't just, well, I'm renting and I'm looking to buy. Okay, great. What do you want about, or what is attracting you to want to buy now versus a year from now? And then and sometimes they're not expecting, and this is, I think, really important. The person on the other end of the phone is not expecting a real thought-provoking question. They're thinking to themselves, this is going to be very like black and white. And they're just going
Yeah.
to
How
ask me
much
a
do you
few.
make? Where do you work?
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of throw them off guard a little bit by asking them a thought-provoking question. And that's why it's so important. I know we hear this all the time, but it's so important to just be quiet and let there be an awkward 5 to 10 second moment of silence, because that means that they're actually going into their brain trying to think of the why, which is exactly what we want. We want them communicating. We don't want a surface level answer like, hey, how are you doing today? Well, I'm good. Are you really good? That's a surface level answer. You're going to get surface level until you do thought provoking, and it might be a little awkward at first, but that's the best way to truly find out the reason. It's just, you've got to be a good listener, because you can't ask that second question and third question. Like, it's not prescribed. It's genuinely listening and then asking more. I think Jeremy Forcier does a really good job of that. He's really good at listening and being able to ask that next question. Of course, Renee's the master at it. But once you get good at that, you'll start getting people opening up.
I think it's really critical. I think the number one thing that I took away from what Denise just said is, and it's number one because I struggle with it too. Oh, and by the way, I'm not a big dog person either, although we have 3 dogs. So it's cool. I wasn't being critical. However, it's being comfortable with that pause. And I used to have a big poster on my wall that said there's magic in the pause, because as salespeople, we want to fill that silence. It's our natural inclination. That's actually why you say and so. It's your mind doesn't want there to be any gaps while you're thinking when you're speaking. And so it's really hard to get comfortable with that unless you really take what Denise just said to heart and really be okay with letting the person think and come up with their answer. The other thing that I find that I did, and I think a lot of you may find you do as well, is I would answer the question for them. And they go, yeah, that's it. That's why I'm moving. And then I just totally missed getting as deep rooted as Denise just did. Jeremy's recently talked about it on our mastermind calls, where he's listening to people so we can send them things, right? And we have a program for my team. It's called Listen and Impact. And my team used to be $50. Now it's $75. Some people believe it's $100. So they literally will, if they hear someone say, I'm getting engaged, boom, off goes some kind of gift that they can buy. They don't have to ask any permission. They've got up to $75 to spend to impact somebody, new baby, whatever it is. And we don't have, it's not that they're going to get some branded something, that they're going to get. They're actually going to pick out something based on their conversation that they think would be important. And I just love always hearing when I see an email chain go back and forth between a loan officer and a processor says, hey, they're having this happen. Let's send them some flowers, or, grandma passed away, just something that is impactful. And I would encourage you to think, how can you be more impactful? Because there's no better way. You can't do it because you want to get their future loan or even this loan, right? You're going to do it because it's something that you feel led to do, right? That whole heart thing that Denise talked about. Don't do it because you think it's going to get you this loan or even the loan down the road. And it very well may. You're going to do it if you truly care. I think that was the other piece that I heard you say, is that you care. I think that it came across that, Dan is obviously super passionate about people's financials and all of that. I think that when you figure out what that is for you, right? That's why Dave, Renee, and I opened up with that manifesto. And it was just so interesting when we looked at last year was really tech focused, and we were talking about being modern and how do we do things in this COVID world. And then this year, like I said, magically it came out to have, really three themes, right? The one was the heart. The other was the financial piece, again, which it's not a new message, financial literacy. It's just now I'm seeing people take it to another level of passion. And then the other one, which we'll spend some time unpacking later, was time management. And I've already seen, Dave sent me some texts. In fact, I'll probably pull some of them up from, he asked in his text community, hey, what were some of your favorite conversations? And everyone's different. That's what I love. So if you have a favorite conversation, throw it in the chat or in Facebook. We'd love to hear about it, and we can get mine and or Denise's opinion on that. So that was really long-winded. One of the things that you said was how well the clients refer into you. And one of my favorite ones, I don't know if you saw it, it was really at the very end. So it was when people were wearing out of energy, and it probably was dinner time in your central time zone, was Heather Momar talked about the realtor scripts and how she didn't use the word trained. I'll use the word trained. She's actually trained her real estate agents to elevate the way that they refer her over. And so if you haven't watched that one, I would encourage everyone to rewatch it. How are you doing that with your referral partners, getting them to refer you stronger?
I think that that's a huge piece. It took me way too long to learn that if I just teach them how I would like to be introduced, then I'm a little bit more in control of a stronger referral. It's now to the point where when I meet with a new real estate agent, usually by the end of the conversation, that realtor's asking, how should I refer clients to you? And my usual response to that is, it's always going to be what's the best method for you and the client first and foremost. If I had my preference, it would be an e-introduction, and I can email you an example of what that looks like. The reason why I prefer an email introduction is, one, I think it makes it professional. Two, it stays in my inbox and not in a text message. I try to reserve text messaging to those urgent type matters. And so what happens is, if everyone's texting me, then no text message becomes urgent. So my preference is an e-introduction. And I send them after our meeting, I send them a thank you. And I say, by the way, here's the sample e-intro. And it's pretty crazy. Once you send that to them, now they don't have to formulate the words themselves. It sounds great. It's exactly how I want it. It says, hey, you can call them at this number, or you can go right online and start the process there. So we're giving them options, but it says, you've got to contact Denise and her team. They're the best in the business. She's a certified mortgage planner, blah, blah, blah. Those things, those words and those terms are never going to be formulated from a referral source because they just don't speak that way. And so I do think coaching or training or teaching them how to best refer you is key, because it's like getting a warm referral, a lukewarm referral. How strong is that referral? And then, if you've got great reviews, hopefully you guys are building reviews. We didn't talk too much about that, but reviews are huge in today's day and age. So of course, in my email template, it says, if you'd like to check out her online Google reviews, and it's already hyperlinked, it's clean. It's not like the million text. It's click here for her online reviews, super clean. And then they can do some research. And they're like, okay, I just got a strong referral from my agent that I know, like, and trust. I see she's got over 220 online Google reviews, all saying the same stuff. I've scoped out her social media. She looks legit. I'm going to go ahead and apply. I don't necessarily need to have a combo with her. That's sometimes what ends up happening, which I don't love because I do like to get them on the phone. But you've got to, the more you can make it easy and streamline and teach them exactly what you want said about you. I mean, it's like in my world, I play basketball. That's a layup.
I love it. I love it. Well, and I love the fact that you say Denise and her team, right? Because it's not necessarily, or maybe it is in your world that you're not necessarily the first person they're going to hear from. Is that accurate?
Yes. They don't
Right.
usually ever hear from me until they're either pre-qualified or pre-approved. And then I'm having a combo with them.
So I think that's important, right? Because that way the client's not feeling like oh gosh, I didn't get Denise, I got the team member, right? They were already laid up on a silver platter that the team is part of the conversation. And I think the part I love the most was you also prioritized, hey, this is what text messaging is for, right? Text messaging is for things that are super important, kind of saying, hey, don't send me the crap. And I feel like a lot of us fail to do that with our partners. We don't tell them how it is to do business. And really the reason that they do business with Denise is because Denise is so good. Well, guess why she's so good? Because she's got a system where her funnel is funneling the direction that she wants it to funnel. She's not letting them do business their way. She's actually encouraging them to do business her way in a way where they're not getting offended that she's telling them what to do. She's just encouraging it. And guess what? You just proved it works.
Yeah. And it wasn't even until this year that I even thought to record a video for my real estate agents when I get a new relationship established. Because sometimes I have people I haven't even met with them face to face. They'll just say, hey, I follow you on social, or hey, I get every Friday I do a custom email that's specifically for real estate agents. So if I ever do a transaction with you, you go in that group, and it's always something educational about maybe how to write like an underwriting friendly repair amendment, or, our appraisal gap strategy, whatever it is. It's designed not for, hey, use me, I'm a mortgage lender, this is my loan program. It's, here's something that will help your business. And I was sharing this with my team because one listing agent was in there for a year and a half. People think that like this success happens overnight. It's like they've been on my social media and they've been getting my Friday emails every Friday for a year and a half before they reached out to me and said, hey, I've been getting your stuff and I want you to come talk to my broker. We've got about 10 agents. A year and a half, people. So all the posting I do, all the videos that I do, the email drips, like sending pigeons, we do it all. It takes that long, but you start getting the phone calls coming in where you're attracting, you don't have to be cold calling. I'm getting a little bit on a tangent, but I recorded a video that was basically like, usually when a real estate agent starts working with a 1-man or 2-man loan officer team, it's pretty common for them to text and call their cell phone. So I had to get better at saying to agents and training them and teaching them that during normal business hours, if you need an answer, if you want a human on the phone, you're going to want to call the office. And that's so foreign to realtors that work with loan officers that maybe don't even go into an office, that they just know, oh, call their cell. That's the best way. That's how real estate agents operate. But I recorded a video that was like, I learned 7 years ago when I got into this business, and it still holds true today, that the number one complaint real estate agents have on loan officers is communication. And so I thought, it's so important to them and to our borrowers to get a human on the phone versus a answering service. That was one of my first investments I made on my team, was a receptionist. And I paid her a great salary, and her job was to make sure that there was never a voicemail left on the office line, because that's what I kept hearing from clients and real estate agents over and over. And so I thought to myself, I really need to share that message with my real estate agents, that it is so important to me that I have now invested in 3 people and their primary job is to answer the phone. And so that is why if you're meeting with a client or you need something, I'm in my office. I go to my office every day. I don't work from home. I'm in my office. And so when I'm at the office, my cell phone is to the side, because people who know and work with me know if you need to get me, I'm at the office, because it's 8 and 5 and it's Monday through Friday. Now, if it's after hours or it's on the weekend, I'm not in the office. So my cell phone is usually the best way to get a hold of me. But I had to connect the dot of, the why behind it, because most loan officers don't necessarily operate like that. Real estate agents definitely don't operate like that. But here's why. I have, and I tell them, if you're in my office and you see me on my cell phone, it's super rare. It's to the point where it's like, if you're calling me on during the day, you're a recruiter or it's spam, because you just know. But I have to teach those agents that, that are new with working with us, that no, it's important to me that there's a human that answers the phone. And when I'm in meetings or when I'm at closings or when I'm working on content, I'm super laser focused on whatever it is I'm doing at that moment. I'm not distracted by a text message. Then you don't get all of me, just like you're getting all of me right now, real estate agent, in this meeting. I haven't looked at my phone once. Now you've looked at it like 4 times, but we're not, I obviously would never say that. But it literally took me to this year, Todd, that I was like, holy crap, I should probably explain to them that, like, I pay a lot of money to have people answer the phone so that your client never gets a voicemail. And I look at my voicemails, ask my team, it goes in a little separate folder. And I look at the number of voicemails that hit every day. I monitor it, not in a like crazy ninja sergeant way, but why is there so many? If there's 8 voicemails in a day, I kind of panic. Like, there should only be a couple, and maybe that's around lunch. I got 3 people answering the phone. And then it rolls to my senior LOAs. Like, did all of us go at lunch at the same time? So anyways, you get my point.
Well, no, and I love the fact that it was a perfect tangent, because I do feel like, the number one advice that I wish I would have gotten when I got in the business was my cell phone shouldn't be the only phone. And it kind of freaked people out. My first year in the business, I switched companies, and I realized real quick that my phone number was really important to me. But I would also get annoyed when I would be sitting there and my desk phone would ring and then my cell phone would ring and I was on the phone. That's why I didn't answer either one of them. And so I had to go and retrain people, so much to the point that I actually took that cell phone and I told people I didn't have it anymore. I got a new cell phone that was a work cell phone. And it was really funny. Ironically, that old cell phone number is my daughter's cell phone now. So every once in a while, I get a call from someone who knew me 20 years ago trying to track me down. But I didn't know, no clients ever had my cell phone number. No one could get a hold of me. And it really made my, my work-life balance way better. Now, of course, after hours sounds like sometimes maybe to you, I was on the rotation for the after hours calls where someone could reach me. However, that was really, that was the way. It was so much better to have someone have a live experience. So I would just think through, if you're a newer loan officer, you heard Denise say, hey, she hired a receptionist early on. Is there something different you can do today in order to create a better experience for your agents, but more importantly, set up a better, work balance? I'm not a big work-life balance person, but set up better unplugged time for you by actually having a system that allows you to do it versus having to take your cell phone with you and be waiting. So like when I went to Italy for 3 weeks with my family in the biggest year of loans I ever did, I turned off my cell phone and I left it on the kitchen table because I didn't need to take it with me, because all of my friends knew how to get a hold of me. And it was just such a freeing experience for me to be able to do that. And I would love, for you guys to have that opportunity down the road for sure.
Man, that's impressive. I don't know if I could. I hope one day in my life I would do that. But you brought up a good point, just because I think that's a fear that loan officers have, is if they leave, then that phone number that they use for their office number, they would lose all those clients. And I just want to share with you guys something that I do, where I have a vanity phone number. Of course, it spells nerd, but you can buy vanity phone numbers, 447 nerd, and have it point to your office line. And so if you switch companies, I own that office number and I can point it, at a new office line, let's say. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to leave, but that is real. It's a real thing. We want our clients to be able to get hold of us no matter where we hang our license. And so just throwing that little tip out there, that you can point vanity numbers to any office line and keep that vanity office number with you wherever you go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I did. It was a number that was, a residential number, went in my house, and then I eventually ported it into a cell phone. So it's literally a cell phone number. And people text it. That's the weird part, is you don't realize people will text your office line. So we've got someone who actually monitors that, but it happens all the time. Just happened yesterday. A client who we helped 12 years ago on a refinance call that number and, see if we were still in business. And, they didn't get me, they got a team member, but that was great. They had the opportunity to do the loan, again with our team. And so I think it's really, really critical. I feel like, that was a gem that we weren't expecting to get, that we got, which I think is really huge. A couple things I want to point out real quick. We mentioned Amplify and Renee Rodriguez. I think that there was definitely, you could tell, in my opinion, I could tell who's been through Amplify and who hasn't. And Renee had 2 spots open up at Columbus, Ohio at the end of this month. So if you haven't ever done Amplify and you're looking for an opportunity before it goes up $1,000, and I think next year's almost all sold out anyway, that may be a great opportunity. I was going to go, other than the fact it's my sister-in-law's 50th birthday, family first, got to do that. However, I think it's a great opportunity for those who haven't done it. If he hasn't sold them already, it's certainly possible that, that he has. All right. What other thoughts do you have coming out of the summit, since that's what we said we were going to talk about? And what I love about it is it's becoming, hey, here's what I heard, and here's what I loved how they did it. No, here's how I'm doing it. So I think this is a beautiful gem of a call.
Well, I think with the common theme, like I think about Dan Keller and how he is so wicked smart in his budget planning and financial planning. And I'm sure that there are some people like me thinking to themselves, like, man, how, like, did he go to school for that? Where did he learn all that? And Dan mentioned the book that he read that he got some of those statistics. Dan has shared all those documents in the private or in the mortgage group, Facebook group that we have. And I think the messages and what I would hope that people walked away with, it's the fall. Things are slowing down a little bit. And this is the time to think about how to implement the things that you heard. So if you want to get better at creating budgets, you have to get real with yourself to say, do you have a budget for yourself now? I mean, would you know how to put a budget together? How can you advise somebody on financial literacy? If you were to get real with yourself and look in the mirror and say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, Dan's a 10 with financial literacy. Where do you fall? And like, for real, gut check yourself. And if it's not in the 8s, 9s, or 10s, fantastic. Become a student this fall. Buy the books, the ones that Dan's talking about. I mean, you can follow Twitter accounts in this day and age. There's really no excuse with what we have at our fingertips to get better with finance. It's just a matter of implementing it or not, and how bad do you want it or not. And so I think that's where, when I'm trying to be in the seat of people listening, it's like, but how do I learn that? So what would you say, Todd? Like, where would people start to learn more about finance and budgeting, and what advice would you give?
It's such a great question. And, the first advice I would give is you have to schedule the time to study, right? I mean, you mentioned you got to implement these things. If you don't schedule, if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to get done. And, I was brought up, you mentioned Bill Harvey was my first coach in the business. And, Bill made me schedule that on time to study and learn the markets. And again, I had a passion for it, similar to Dan's, but I never took it to the level that he's taken with it. And I would definitely encourage you guys. I mean, I would be going, if I was starting now in our community, I would go to budgetwithdan.com. He said, hey, my stuff is there. And that would be absolutely where I would start. I would be watching and listening to Dan Rawich's commentary inside the community here. He's done such a great job of giving you a little bit of what to say. And what I would tell you is, you got to be really careful with the technical conversations, because your clients, that's like, talking to Charlie Brown teacher. They don't know what that is. And so really what you want to do is, what I think Dan's doing a great job is he's taking the technical aspects and he's using statistics, which resonates with people's brains. I think he and Todd Duncan are the masters at statistics right now. And then he's making it relatable to them. When my wife first got in the mortgage business, and we shared an office, so she was at the opposite end, and literally I'd be going, well, there's a floor of support, and I'm talking candlestick charting, and my wife is like, cut it off. But there's just so many other great books out there, and I would say this, a lot of people poo-poo. What's his name? Who's our guy that tells everyone to get a 15-year mortgage and have no debt?
Oh, Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey, like people poo-poo Dave Ramsey, but don't poo-poo him unless you've read his stuff, right? Like I know
Right.
I've read all of his books. I've listened to his radio show, because you're going to have clients who call you and that's their goal. And your goal is to actually help them reach their goal first, and then actually help them understand that there's a better way, right? That maybe the 30-year fix and invest the difference using a TCA is going to get them there. But I find oftentimes loan officers, they haven't read the other stuff. They only know the kind of the snippets that we all make fun of on the internet. And so get educated. So I would just find any other financial book out there. I would just maybe make a post in the mortgage coach community. Hey, what's the best financial book? But I'm drawing a blank on what Dan's book was that he mentioned, but yeah, I've written it down and it's on my book list. So when I'm hearing people talk like at a webinar, like, event like the Modern Mortgage Summit or any others, and someone says a book, I used to write down book names, but then I had a list of like 50 books. And I was like, what, like, is that a good book or a bad book? And so now I actually write the book name and I write who referred it. And then I write the topic next to it. So that way, when I'm thinking, okay, if I want to learn about financial, stuff, okay, oh, Dan suggested this. Because what I realize every once in a while, I'd be like, oh yeah, so-and-so said this book and it just wasn't up to par. And so also kind of filter through the who of that piece. But that's just there's a page in the front of my Win by Noon planner. That's my idea list for the quarter. And there's one that's books. And so again, then I look at it and say, okay, is this book still important enough to be on there? And then I put in Evernote, I got a master book list. I'm a little bit of I was going to use the word nerd. I'm not the nerd. You're the nerd. So I'm a little bit techie when it comes to all that kind of stuff to make sure that I track it. But that would be my encouragement. Number one, schedule the time. Number two, look in our community because there's a ton of information there. And then number three, actually just make sure you do it.
Yeah, man, like you're making me think to myself, I have a stack of books because you're like talking to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person just said I need to read this book. I'm going to buy the book, and I buy it. And then it sits on my nightstand. And it's like, before you know it, I have 4 books on my nightstand. And I'm like, oh my gosh, which one do I need to read first? And then I've got a 4-year-old. And so it's like, when do I have time to read them? And they end up sitting longer. And you know why? It's because I don't schedule the time where it's like, this is my time where I'm going to read this book. So I've gotten to the point where I do more audios because I do enjoy listening to it at the gym. I can't take notes though. So that's kind of tough, but you're like preaching to the choir right now. I need to put it on my calendar and I need to schedule it because my intentions are good. I spend the money and then it just falls flat on actually end up reading them. So, but I do.
Well,
So that's another book. Like I want to write down Dan's book name. I have his where I'm going to rewatch it because that's one that is going to be on my top of my list to rewatch, specifically because I want to read that book. So now if you come at me in a couple of months and I haven't read it, Todd, like you need to just get on to me.
all right. Well, I'll read it too. We'll hold each other accountable to it. I always joke because everyone's like, look at all those books. And so this is my favorite section here in the middle. And then my next favorite sections are over here. Now, of course, Bill Hart's book is actually my favorite section, but I put it here to promote him.
Yeah.
Then I've got all my, my life planning books and all these others. And I've read most of these books, but when you get to the top shelves, you might see like a business card in it halfway through. That's where I stop. I'll tell you my current hack. I just went to the Positive Impact Summit with Jonathan Roach about a month ago, and it was just a blast. And one of the things that everyone had to do was basically do a book report. And then Jonathan, when we got home a day later, I had a box with everyone's book in it. And I was like, these were all good books. I've got notes on what they did. And I'd heard someone say it before and I struggled with it because I don't like to listen to books because I like to study the book itself, but I'm a really slow reader. So I'm in my second book right now. I have the Audible going depends on the book, but right now I'm on 3 times the speed. And then I'm highlighting the book and watching the book as I go. Again, you still can't do it while you exercise, but that's like my latest life hack. I'll see how it works because again, for me, I'm like, if I'm going to read it, now I've got to go back and go to the first one I read. I'm going to do it on the plane today. So I'll have, some on time. I'm going to log on the internet to get my survey out to all of you and the email I promised. Then my goal is to unplug and take advantage of that time and then go back and actually take notes on what is actionable from the first book that I read, which was Dave's book report that he did, the 4 agreements, which was awesome.
So what I'm hearing from you is that I need to book vacations and use the on time from the flight to read the book and then finish it on my vacation. And so I just need more vacations to read books.
We all need more vacations. We talked about it earlier. Our teams all need more vacations. So if you are slowing down a little bit, like I'm hearing a lot of people are, it's a great time to encourage your team to take a vacation. Maybe book it for them if you had a great year and that's in the budget. That would be a a great way to bless someone who's done a lot for you, for sure. Someone here said they loved Jeremy's presentation. He talked about self-accountability. I think that's such a hard topic. I love it because I feel like that's what Win by Noon helps people with. But how do you approach accountability? Like, what does that look like in your world?
It's tough to answer that because my dad was a military guy. He always wanted what was best for us. Like, he did instill really good values at the beginning of our life, where he wanted us to be the first people on the basketball courts. He always wanted us to have straight A's, even though he had horrible grades. I think we always want what's best for our kids, even compared to ourselves. And so for me, it is so important to me to just be 1 degree better than I was yesterday. That's a driving force I have within myself. And I do think that I have to give a lot of that credit to how my dad raised us. We did play sports, and so we're competitive, but we're competitive with ourselves. And being better than you were yesterday doesn't always mean like do more production every year, or sometimes it's just micro goals. That if I ate like crap yesterday and I'm feeling bad about it, it's like, okay, today I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to eat like eggs for breakfast, and I'm going to have a salad for lunch because I'm not 5 years old and I can't eat goldfish or chocolate donuts. We know someone that does that.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm serious. I try to, it's like, it's not
No, not
just,
the person who eats the chocolate donuts.
oh yeah,
No,
Deborah eats
I hear
chocolate.
you.
Yeah. Um, but and so I think that's also important, and that's what I love about Jeremy's messaging. And even if you follow him on social media, he's done such a good job with his social media this year. I messaged him because I was like, I'm so proud of you. He's such a leader and an inspiration, and he gives you the allowance that, if you want to be the best salad eater, be the best salad eater. Like, he doesn't care whatever your jam is. That's what he wants you to hold yourself accountable to. It doesn't always necessarily have to be doing more in production. When Shayla was at Renee's Amplify event in Vegas, one of the things she spoke about was how for so long she was chasing that financial freedom. And then it's like, once she felt like she got it, it was like, but wait, I'm still not fulfilled, or I'm not happy. What I'm really after is that time freedom to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And, she just became super disciplined in that and held herself accountable to, you don't have to be in the office at the first one in and the last one out. You've built this business. You've given people jobs to be able to work in a good workplace with a good work culture. You've earned the right to have time freedom in your life. So that was eye-opening to me, but it does stem from a desire to just be 1 degree better than what I was yesterday. And so I do, before the day, every day, jot down like what were my wins and losses. That's probably from my building champions coaching I did years ago, is like, what did you win at and what did you lose at? And I don't beat myself up over the losses, but it is important to look in the mirror and acknowledge, maybe I wasn't the greatest leader that day. Maybe I was short-tempered. Maybe I spat off in an email when I shouldn't have, or, so I'm going to have a more meaningful conversation with that person yesterday, not business wise, but just, hey, how's it going? So track your wins and losses for the day, and then make a conscious effort, like Jeremy's saying, to hold yourself accountable to be a better human at whatever you're trying to be better at.
I love that. I love that. And I love the wins and losses piece. I mean, I think that, one of the things that you'll find as you hear people like Denise and other great leaders in the community is they take the time to look at what that looks like, and then to actually review it so that they can make that change the next day, right? Oftentimes we go through life so fast that we don't slow down, and it could be something as little as, I ate like crap. Like, I joked, I mean, we were in Fishtown. I had more fried fish than I've had, more fried food and in California at this event than I've had like all year. And I was like, same thing. It's just funny. It's on my plan today. My number one to do is make world-class decisions, because that's what Jonathan Roach is all about, being world-class. And I was like, well, shoot, that's, for me, it's a reminder on things like food, and it's also a reminder on things like work. And so I love when I hear a top producer, a top human like yourself talk about, hey, it's not just about business, it's also about life. And then take the time to review what you do. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And, being a better wife, or being a better mom, or a better sister, it's like you have to measure you do have to measure those things. What gets measured gets done. But I did want to share this with you. If you do lead a team, one of the most powerful things that I do every year, I ask, it's a public forum. Our team gets in a group setting. They know that it's coming every single year. And I say, I want each person to be able to express what they think that person does the best at their job and what they could use improvement on. And it's a way for us to, as a team, I think we got it from that book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team,
Yeah, by
where you
Patrick
can have,
Lencioni. That's a
yeah,
good one to put on your book list, people, and it's an easy read.
Yeah, our CEO made us read that like years ago, and I did read it. But having that healthy conflict, and I myself also sit there and I say, I want you guys, these are the people who work for me. They're the closest to me. What do I need to improve on? What do I need to work on? You have to be able to ask that question and humble yourself to be like, these are the things you need to work on. And sometimes we think, oh, I'm a great communicator. I'm great. But they're like, I need you to be more direct. I'm like, how is that possible? I know I'm direct. Well, clearly I'm not. And I have to be open-minded to getting that feedback. But game changer, one of the most powerful things that I do every year is we have like a campfire honest. It's not to make us feel bad. We all need true live feedback from the people that know, love, and trust us, that spend 8 to 10 hours a day, because we have an interest in each of us getting better in our work life and personal life. And we care enough about each other to be honest. And that's okay. Healthy conflict is great.
Well, and that's also why your team is still with you, right? I mean, I talked to a lot of top producers and like, oh yeah, I just got 3 new assistants this year because I lost the 3 last year. And, I saw you and your team at the Amplify event in Las Vegas, a team that, does life together and that is willing to have those hard conversations is the team that's going to win especially in the last 18 months we've had where it's been so crazy. And you need people who are realizing that you as the top of the team, you get the most economic benefit. But when you have people who are willing to work the extra hours, not just the extra hour, I said extra hours, because that's what it was. Like last year, for all of your success, that's, that to me is the pinnacle of being a great leader.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what we were talking about before we went live is, if you are seeing a slowdown in your business right now, then what are you doing to give back those hours of the team when they worked through the summertime, when they worked through their kids' games, or when they were on vacation, even if you didn't ask them to, but what are you doing to give some hours back to them? Are you letting them work from home? Every Friday right now, we're going to a different breakfast spot because we have a massive disagreement on the best breakfast spot in town. And so we go have breakfast and we talk trash about that person's breakfast spot and why it's horrible. And we have this chart in the break room and we're literally measuring everything. And it's really fun. Like, how are you greeted? How was the atmosphere? And as the team leader, it is fun. And I love breakfast, but ultimately they're now starting to think through how that experience was. And that's exactly what I want them to do is, does the atmosphere matter? Just laughing because one of my coworkers, Eric, he's so direct and funny. And he was like, well, if the walls weren't the color of poop, I might have enjoyed my breakfast better. And, it's just, you have fun. It's something that they don't know that psychologically I have a whole nother mission, behind the scenes of how that experience and how the greeter or how the waitress, how that does impact your experience and maybe how that food tastes, even though that has nothing to do with how the food tastes. But your waiter could have totally turned you off or turned you on. So it's fun. We've got the time and we do it. And it's, we talk trash and we enjoy it and it's fun.
I think that's part of life. It was funny, Adam, who's my right-handed wind by noon, and I were on the shuttle bus going from the car rental place back to the airport. And Alex, I know his name because I asked him afterwards when I went up and thanked him for the ride. He basically was just laughing at everyone. He was like, made sure the lady with hey, how's the lady with the knee? Are you doing okay? Over the loudspeaker. She's like, I'm doing great. He's awesome. I just want to thank you all for being here, because if you guys weren't here for business or fun, we'd all be unemployed. And so we're super grateful for that. So let me just give you a couple tips of advice. He goes, but first, hey, I'm going on to Miami on vacation. Can I get a ooh-ah or something? He's got the whole bus all talking to him and, telling us about his dinner last night, but it was a fun experience. And I think that that's oftentimes what's missing in business. And that was, I think we're all in our head going, gosh, this stinks. I can't believe I had to wait for that bus to get on there. I can't believe I'm having to do these things. And next time I'm going to take an Uber, and, all the things we might think about. And instead, I was a story that not only did I tell my wife when I got back, I'm telling you guys today. And I think that client experience is something that's really critical. And so again, kind of steering it back towards the Modern Mortgage Summit. I mean, you had so many loan officers walk you through their experience on there. I think Shayla's stands out. I think Josh's stands out. Sean Herrero hanging off of a cliff, talking about how he's creating certainty for clients, which I think was probably one of my other highlights. It wasn't, last year he jumped on the van and that was like, whoa, my gosh, that one freaked everyone out. But, him hanging off a mountain, I'm not sure what he's going to do next year. Maybe he'll have his laptop when he's jumping out of a plane or something.
Yeah. But I mean, how cool was that? I was like, man, I've really got to step my video game up, because it's true. There is a level of entertainment that we're all like, what is he going to do next year? And so when you think about implementing things on social media and video, and he's entertaining, what's the word that Dave uses, like edutainment or something?
Edutainment. Yeah.
Edutainment. Yeah. He nails that. And that's what keeps it entertaining, because let's be real. And Deborah talks about this all the time with marketing stuff, is like, mortgage content that you pump on social media is not sexy or appealing, unless maybe at that stage of time in your life, you're actually thinking about buying a home, which is rare. If someone's going to follow your page or like your content, mortgage stuff is not very sexy. That's why you have to have a combination of some personal stuff. That's why I will post, has anybody outlived their chapstick? Because it always dies either in the dryer or in the Texas heat. I've never actually used the chapstick. And those are the most popular posts I get. I'm the mortgage nerd. People follow me for my social media stuff, but let it be known, the mortgage posts and videos are not the most appealing, but you have to sprinkle them in with the non-business stuff, because that's what makes your content entertaining, or that's what makes someone want to follow it, because it's not all mortgage or finance based, or so you can delegate. I always tell people you can delegate 70% of your social media, but you're never going to be able to delegate 100% of it. Otherwise, it's going to look like you paid a third party to do your stuff. And it's just not going to, it's going to feel like that to your audiences, and social media is meant to be authentic. So, but back to Sean and on the cliff, and it's that, his social media stuff. I mean, he's so entertaining, but you're also learning. And that's such a awesome recipe to have when you're trying to ultimately entertain people, but build trust with people through social and, impact more people.
Well, and that's how he lives his life. And so he lives his business and life the same way. And that's why he attracts those clientele. So I would be remiss if we didn't give info at plugandplaysm.com. If you want to learn more, just go to plugandplaysm.com, because I know they do your social media and they do my social media. And, just such a great person. Since Deborah's not here to plug herself, we might as well plug the fact that she's really making a lot of the best in the industry look better. And then it frees up your time so that you can go and add that personal stuff in there, which is what, by the way, she keeps encouraging me to do more of. I did take some pictures when I was running in San Diego yesterday, and I got to schedule the time. See, what gets scheduled gets done. I got to make it a priority to get some social
media. Just email them to her, because then that's what I do is if you're not programmed or conditioned yet to do your own posting, at least just send those personal posts to her and she can create the captions. That's the key, because that's kind of how all this started. Is I hired a marketing company before her. And if you've ever tried to outsource your marketing with another company, you'll get decent stuff, but they don't know mortgage, and they don't know hooks, and they don't know how to sell, and they don't know mortgage coach, and they don't know how to read TCAs. And I would get so frustrated. But this is what I tell people is, if you don't even want to log into your social media, there's nothing wrong with that. But you still got to email those personal photos, even if you just do a photo dump, so that a couple of times a week, Deborah and her team can post them on your platform. She'll come up with the caption, but I think Shayla just sent hundreds of photos in. And so then it is a healthy mix. So you don't have to do it on, you can still delegate that to your marketing
team. Some good coaching. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You got to give her that content though. Otherwise it's just strictly business.
Yeah, it's funny because I probably should do that and then give the bullet points of my thoughts when I do it, and then have her make me sound way smarter than I really am.
Now you know my secret. She makes me sound so much sweeter than I actually am. So it's great.
Well, I believe you're a very sweet person, and I'm super grateful that not only this just speaks of who you are, not only are you not at work, you're actually at your sister's house taking care of her because she's in pain, and you agreed to jump on and spend the last hour with me and our community. I'm super grateful for that. So you guys should all be following Denise. What's the best way for them to follow you and do something nice for you?
All things at the Mortgage Nerd. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at the Mortgage Nerd.
All right. I love it. So here's my last things. If you were part of the Modern Mortgage Summit, look for the survey. I would love your feedback. That email will come out. It'll probably go in your spam. So be on the lookout. By the end of the day, find an email from me, Todd Bookspan, and then fill that out. We would love, love, love your feedback. And then just support the people who support our community. Support plugandplaysm.com, support Amplify. Anywhere else that you feel like there's value that you're getting, then give that value back. We appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Robert, from Mortgage Coach behind the scene, who put their live support number in there, so you can actually talk to a live human at Mortgage Coach now, just like you can talk to someone live on Denise's team. And as always, on behalf of Dave, the Mortgage Coach community, myself, and the Win by Noon team, thank you so much. We will see you next week right here.
Bye.